And in the business world, what I find the number one thing is having a wonderful, high quality product doesn't mean this product is going to be successful in the market. These are
Yeah.
two different things.
Martians landed,
Yes.
wearing Prada suits,
Yes.
drinking Henry's seltzer,
Yes.
chewing juicy fruit.
Yes, and
Your branding here,
yes, brand.
your message here,
Yes, and
a verse about
yes,
your product here.
yes,
I'm Hersh Rephun.
yes, and
I'm a message therapist.
yes,
And I have a podcast.
yes, brand.
That's right, that's it.
Yes,
We'll help you fix the world
yes.
or your bottom line.
All right,
Your bottom line.
get it. I get it. Welcome to the Yes Brand Podcast.
My guest today on Yes Brand is Dr. Angela Zeng. Angela is the founder and CEO of Karviva. If you're watching, you can see behind her the various flavors of Karviva Energy. And Angela spent years as a scientist. She studied disease. She asked a different kind of question. What if health begins long before treatment? And that question led her to build the award-winning functional beverage company and to write The Balanced Cure, where ancient wisdom and modern science come together around a simple idea. The choices we make every day shape our well-being. Angela, welcome to Yes Brand.
Oh, my owner. It's such a great pleasure just to be on this show and share my Carviva journey with your audience. Yeah,
Yeah, well,
absolutely
it's
love
great.
your show.
Thank you so much. It's great to have you on. We've spoken a little bit before, and I'm going to use some of the stuff you told me to as a kind of a jumping off point because I thought it was interesting. You spent years believing that rigor was enough. What finally convinced you that it wasn't?
Well, I think just as a classic trained medical researchers, obviously in the research lab, we have very restrict in terms of guideline protocol to follow. But in business, I realized when I switched to business, I realized in the business, it's basically it's a fine art of you have to stick with your guideline SOP, but on the other side, you have to be extremely nimble and be flexible. I don't know
Yeah.
whether that answers your questions, but basically, it's like, for example, even as a good medical doctor, right? You want to, when you treat a patient, you want to follow the standard. Like there's always called gold standard, first line, second line, third line, whatever the treatment you have to follow. But even in medical field, there's always special cases. They're
Yeah.
people, they don't necessarily fall into that textbook description. And then that part, you basically relied on your experience. Some people call it a gut feeling or intuition, but I would rather call it experience. And in the business world, what I find the number one thing is having a wonderful, high quality product doesn't mean this product is going to be successful in the market. These are
Yeah.
two different things. You always want to come up with a high quality product. The product serves its promise, serves the functionality you promise to deliver. I think that's the key to have a potential successful brand and a product. However, that having that product doesn't mean you're going to sell tons of them in the market.
Yeah. The thing that you hit on and I want to bring out because this is actually what this is the heart of this conversation that we're having today is there are sometimes things working at cross purposes. The marketplace, people who are marketing, people who are promoting the energy drinks or whatever it may be, they're promoting a value, um, a thing that this drink is going to do, right? They're looking for ways to make promises about what the drink can do for your health and what can it do, and then on the other side, which is the side where you come from, is science. And
Yes.
as you pointed out, not everyone who drinks Karviva is the exact same person or is a case study in, promises kept and all. So you've been reluctant to make promises about what this can do. At the same time, you're driven by an ancient wisdom and a kind of approach that is designed for benefit. So you would rather not overpromise and not make claims, even though you probably could, and yet you're in a marketplace where people are making claims all the time, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think it's getting actually, you just hit, I think, a critical point. All the players in the functional food and beverage market needs to pay attention to. We are at this point that consumers' trust are pretty low. I think it's only going to further decline. The reason is the functional food and beverage market has been growing like crazy. And then that means a lot of young brands, small brands, or whatever, they all jump into this wagon. They think, "Hey, this is the place I'm going to make good amount of money." Unfortunately, most of them have no scientific training. The majority, I would say,
Right.
99% of them, they're just thinking. They basically Google search. Here's the problem with modern days now. Everyone think they're the expert. After the Google search, ask AI a few questions, they suddenly feel like I'm empowered with the knowledge that only a PhD scientist would acquire. It's not that simple. Like I said, a good doctor, a fresh medical school graduate, can of course do diagnosis and treatment, follow the exact guideline. But an excellent doctor who has been in practice 20, 30 years can treat difficult cases that a young doctor cannot treat. Because that, again, is based on your intuition, your gut feelings, through years of practice, through years of, kind of put your hands in the field and dealing with different cases. I think just by purely focus on one functional ingredient, like now these days, people would either pick one herbal ingredient or a chemical compound, for example, creatine, right?
Right,
Or,
right.
I mean, to be even broader, like protein in everything, right?
Okay.
Just to
Yeah.
think I have this ingredient in my product I'm going to sell is not going to work. And because that's not going to work, they start to overpromise. Because
Yeah.
it's almost become you go to a farmer's market, everyone's selling apple. And then you
Yeah.
become really eager, right? You can either do lower your price, you become the very low cost apple out of 10 apple vendors there, or you can claim, eat my apple, you're going to live 100 years old,
Yeah.
right? I have this magic apple, even though you have no evidence to prove that. And then
Right.
when everyone start to say this, guess what? We all think I think it's a common problem. Many of the players in my market think consumers are not so smart. They can be fooled
Yeah.
around. We tell them something, they will believe. Absolutely not. In my 10 years of doing business, I start to gain so much respect to consumers. They don't have to have a PhD education. They don't even have to have a college degree. They are smart, especially nowadays, people can tell what is the advertising message, what is a message they can trust. I think most people can
Yeah.
tell. They may still have this impulsive buying behavior everyone has, but then they will regret it. And they will come back and haunt you even more. They will either leave a very negative review
Yeah.
or they will tell all their friends or don't buy this. They tell me this is going to cure this, make me feel better, younger, more energized. I actually feel horrible. I feel nothing.
Well, there's one thing that you understand really well, Angela, which is that um, people are motivated to often review those things that didn't work. So when the intelligence of the consumer is insulted, they may buy it once, but they're far more likely to leave a negative review than someone that buys it and loves it. Although it's the people who buy it and love it that you really want to cultivate, and the way to cultivate them, you're saying, and I agree, is through respect. Respecting the consumer. That's why I wrote my book, Selling the Truth, which was based on the idea that really that's what we have to offer is the truth. Everybody want any good relationship with a consumer is going to be based on them buying something that is what they thought it would be. Now, you mentioned sometimes they buy it anyway. They have hope that it might do more even than is advertised.
Yeah.
Um, but you know, tell us a little bit now more about Carviva and what goes into it and what you believe or are confident are that it is doing.
Yeah. Actually, Karviva, I mean, over the past 9 years, I started building the factory 10 years ago, but started selling 9 years ago. I've learned so much, and the brand also involved a lot. But the fundamental philosophy has never changed. So when I first started Karviva, back then it was under the brand name Karuna. Karuna is a real name. It's like widely used in Indian as a first name for many ladies, and also it means compassion. It's one of the four foundation in terms of happiness in Buddhism. I switched to Karviva for trademark reason, but I think because my unique background, so years of medical research training, lifelong students, I still continue to learn in both modern medicine, nutritional field, and holistic healing field. But it's this deep, profound influence from my family, rooted in traditional Chinese medicine. So since I was little, that was my hobby. That was my
Yeah.
only hobby, just playing with remedies, herbs, collecting different remedies, self-develop different remedies, test on myself. Myself was the guinea pig.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, it was more than a passion. It was almost like a mission. I feel like I want to help people, the modern, how say, consumers, understand this ancient healing art. Because I think now these days we actually need it even more. Not because we have more prescription treatments, we have more ways in terms of to diagnose people, to treat people. Is because if you look at the healthcare field, we become so specialized. You have so many different specialties. And I can easily run into a shopper who are seeing 5 or 6 different specialty doctors, but they all see that tiny little parts. Very few would see the whole picture, see you as you, this whole body, a living body, versus just they will treat your heart, treat your lung, treat your joints, whatsoever, or your eye or your skin. But it's very different than the holistic approach. Is respect life as a whole, beautiful, wholesome organism or a mechanism that works in connection with the outside environment. So for me, this has actually become even more important because now lots of people, when they're not feeling well, they actually start to use AI to self-diagnose and then try to get
Yeah.
self-treatment. I'm not saying that's 100% wrong. It definitely has its good value. Education is always, always good. But on the other side, I'll be very cautious where that information coming from, right? Because AI give you answer based on the information this database was fit. And if you study AI tools in different culture, they will give you a different answer. Anyway, so for me, is this strong, almost like feeling of responsibility or obligation. I need to help people to understand this beautiful ancient healing art. And I always feel like Karviva is just a vehicle. It's almost a message in a bottle to help to kind of just
Yeah.
help people to understand, hey, what's my relationship with food? What's my relationship with Mother Nature? Yeah.
Well, that's interesting because there's a couple things here now that where my mind goes. One is I had already planned to ask you this and you kind of answered it, which was, is Carviva the mission or is it an expression of the mission? And based on what you were just saying, it's an expression of your mission. And that goes with the other piece that I was thinking. You were talking about your childhood and it got me thinking. The note I made was to know you is to love your product, meaning that it do people does the audience for Carviva know who Dr. Angela Zhang is? Because I talked to so many founders, and so often they are reluctant to be part of the story. They just don't have the fame bug. They don't care about, people knowing their name or whatever. But sometimes I feel that the audience needs to know the creator of the product of the brand because otherwise they don't relate to it. How is a person supposed to relate to a bottle when there's no person that they're identifying with?
Yeah, that's so well said. I
Thank
think
you.
you're exactly right. There's two groups of founders, I almost feel like. One group is they're eager to talk. They have very thick skin. I call myself as a thick skin, but
Yeah,
they're eager to talk or build their self-building, either because everyone has ego. It's almost like for this ego, I want to become famous, I want to become rich, right? It's the common human characters we all have
yeah,
possess. And then there's also founders do have a strong belief. I'm one of those because this family heritage, I kind of it almost like it's beyond a religion for me, right? It's basically I feel like we have this profound treasure we inherit, but sadly, most of the people don't understand or they don't understand it correctly, how I can help people to understand correctly. So I can either teach, I can either write books, I can either just do a lot of talks, or I can make a product, right? So I choose to make a product. But again, I'm also doing lots of kind of this casual teaching through social media, all those things, because once I believe this mission, I'm not shy from the camera. I'm not shy from talking to
right.
people anymore. Because for me, it's not about fulfilling my ego. I need to look great. I don't care. Usually I don't put makeup in front of camera at all because it's not about I need to look great, I need to look like a celebrity. It's about whether the message I'm sharing provides some value to the one
Yeah,
who are listening. That's more important.
yeah,
I think once the founder understand that, then they will become more willing to stand out to talk about the why behind their brand. And then they're just founder probably they were told that you cannot be the face of your brand because your goal is to sell your brand. Your brand has to be totally detached from you. I don't believe that. I think, of
yeah,
course, the product, the formulation, the production, how you sell them can be totally detached from me, right? Anyone can do those kind of things. However, this spirit, the soul in your brand was created, was injected by the founder.
yes,
And that
yeah,
thing should not be changed. And you see this classic case, right? I think was that not Patagonia. There's this famous outdoor outfit, or um, that is not in food and beverage business. But I remember seeing that their brand start to decline, especially their reputation among their core customers start to decline because obviously now the brand deviates so much from the founder's mission.
Yeah. Yeah, and um, I think the way I look at it is that the brand has a personality too. The brand is not you. It is be different from you in every case. It's different from the founder, but it needs the founder because it's like a body without a heart or a soul.
Yes.
A brand is it's a bottle, it's a product, and people now do the people who make it believe in it and all of that yeah, you don't need the founder for that, but the audience needs the founder to associate with. And so I think you're absolutely right. Once a founder realizes that the mission requires this, the mission benefits from this, they're much more comfortable getting up and talking.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and you're so right that the ego is sometimes that is what motivates. Yeah, sometimes they have a big ego. Sometimes they are just very comfortable being on stage. Sometimes it's a
Hmm.
little bit of this and a little bit of
Yes.
that.
Yes.
There's not a perfect science to being a founder. I think that that what you're hitting on here is that there is a there is a certain value system uh, that needs to remain and needs to be. It can't just be so big that the values of the founder don't matter anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the classic, I'm sure you know much better than I do, is Disney, right? Disney brand.
Yeah,
And even after hundreds of more than 100 years later, the founder's mission, they still hold it dearly to their heart. And you can see several times when they deviate from it, then things start to go down. But they were pretty
yeah,
cool. They were pretty smart and quick and quickly, kind of self-reflect and start to correct that. I think again, they probably changed the CEO. I didn't study them, how many CEO they have changed, but why they are still such a successful brand because they still hold that initial mission to the core
yeah.
of their practice.
Yeah, and times change and brands can evolve. They're not static, but it's funny because Disney, it's true. Way back when Disney started making movies that were not the typical animated Disney movies, they started a new studio called Touchstone Pictures where and Hollywood Pictures where they would make action movies or comedies or whatever. They still had a certain, connection, but they were like, okay, well, we don't want to make them Walt Disney pictures because they're not like that. But that
Yeah.
helped them preserve themselves so that when they did Beauty and the Beast and they did Pocahontas and they did all the Disney princess movies and all these things, they still could Aladdin they still could stay within the brand's ethos. Same thing as, Disney World and Disneyland and Euro Disney and all these things. It's hard because when you become one of the biggest brands in the world,
Hmm.
it is almost like you are serving everybody.
Oh,
But the
yeah.
but the fact is you have to serve within the framework of who you are.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good lesson for anyone, not even a founder. It's a good lesson for a human being. You
Yeah.
have to be who you are. Tell us about, but I want to make sure we touch on the balance cure on your book.
Yeah. So the reason I wrote this book was again coming from my personal deep belief, passion to traditional Chinese medicine. So when I first came to this country, I kind of start to look for TCM, the traditional Chinese medicine book in English. And I still have two sitting on my bookshelf, and I have to confess that I didn't finish any of those because I
Yeah.
just feel like it was so hard for me to read. And I could understand why, because the other day I even listened to, I mean, I listened to so many industry podcasts, and they were saying, I think one of the podcast hosts was saying Ayurveda has a much better attraction in the US culture compared to traditional Chinese medicine. They didn't go deeper to the why. And I
Mm.
think the reason why, because the TCM is so, it's almost impossible for a normal person to understand. Even for Chinese, probably most Chinese understand the surface of the things. Oh, you are hot in nature or cool in nature, yin and yang, those kind of stuff. But they don't really understand this because it's almost like a living philosophy. It's like how you should live your life
Yeah.
instead of a treatment system. So I just thought, yeah, maybe one day I can write a book that's easy for people to understand. I hope I deliver that
Yeah.
that goal I set many years ago because I think I really have to say thanks God because I spent so long working on Karviva. It really give me the opportunity to walk out of the ivory tower. It's almost like if you stay in research, you're only dealing with other researchers. They are
Right.
not the typical norms in represent this society, right?
Right.
Yeah, they're super intelligent, but they talk different talks. They think very differently. It's just it's different. Versus working with Karviva, I got to work with real human beings. What I mean is
Yeah.
like janitors, truck drivers, shoppers coming from all kinds of cultural background, different income level, struggle with different health issues, life issues. Some of them, when I chat with them, start to cry right away. I could
Mm.
tell this maybe over years, their sadness, their whatever, they couldn't share with anyone. And it's just this profound trust. I feel like this trust, I cannot ruin that trust. Anyway, so I try to write it in a language I feel like people can understand, and I start with something I think is the fundamental practice that make holistic healing different than modern medicine is everyone is different.
Yeah.
Even for the same body. For myself, my body change from week to week, from year to year. So therefore, I spend a whole few chapters just to talk about understanding your body type. So I have a very easy, like a self quiz you can take. In the book, it's just like through some check, check
Yeah.
mark different choices, like multiple choices, and also I made it also online. You can find it on Karviva.com. But it's basically understand your body type, and therefore, based on your body type, to make the right choices for yourself. And I choose the topic to focus on because there are so many health issues. Of course, I focus on weight loss. The reason is obviously 70% of the US population, uh, unfortunately, like
Yeah.
not
Or
exactly obese,
struggle.
but overweight.
Yeah.
Yeah, struggling with overweight issue. Um, and especially now with the GLP-1, it helped many people, but also add many layers of complexity, confusion, and also, of course, complications. So I also try to incorporate um, the GLP-1 knowledge as I know as of today compared to TCM wisdom. And then, yeah, every chapter I have a little paragraph there as a kind reminder for GLP-1 user what to do.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so basically it's just again, it doesn't matter. I write a book or give a talk or be on different podcasts or writing the blog articles or doing short videos for our social media. What I'm doing is basically is like I want to help people to understand this beautiful healing wisdom. And through that, I hope people can have a better understanding or appreciation of their own health. I think in this very busy fast evolving world, especially we're getting stronger and stronger influence by artificial intelligence, health is one of the few things we still have good amount of control over.
Yeah.
Many other things we sadly we don't have control over. Yeah.
Well, and I think to a great extent, you know, we tend to give control away.
Yes.
Um, the GLP-1 is situation is a good example because people want the easiest way,
Hmm.
even to health, and
Yeah.
that's where I think you come in that these expressions, whether it's the book or Karviva, these expressions of your values uh, and your belief is what really is at play here. My final question would be: Do you feel that that your audience gets that at first contact? In other words, the first time they see Carviva, you know, do they get it?
Such a great question. I have to tell you with 100% honest, no. I would say the first time, first impression, if you just walk into, let's say, Stop and Shop store, you see this bottle of Karviva drink sitting on the shelf, you see this beautiful logo, you see the name. What do you think is, oh, an interesting functional juice? Probably healthy, but I don't know about the taste because I was told mostly healthy drinks they don't taste good. And
Hmm.
then you probably also see the logo. You see, looks a little bit Eastern. Maybe there's some Eastern or Far East elements inside, but you're not sure. You will not understand. Oh, this is the founder behind Carviza. Carviva is trying to tell me something.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate goal I want to I want people to get. But unfortunately, I mean it is true because just through the bottle, unless someone get really curious, go to my website. Of course, when they go to Karviva.com, they will start to understand. That's always we try to encourage people to go to the website to study. But I think that's why most of the brands, they just want to focus on one simple ingredient because they think that's easy to sell, right? If you just focus on, for example, prebiotic fiber, protein, or turmeric, because
Right, right.
most of the folks out there would understand, oh yeah, turmeric is good for my joint pain. But there's
Yeah.
not really a holistic story behind, right? Maybe there's always
Right.
interesting founder story, but it's not at such extent like you want to educate people or you want to help people to get reconnect with Mother Nature. I believe that's the true root of good health. That unfortunately just requires lots of hard work.
Yeah.
Lots
Well,
of
I
hard
was
work.
the thing with that is that I understand, having spent years when I was working in branding, brand strategy, I learned that the customer does need something simple to hold on to, and that's why if you create a category the way that they've tried to do with with like ginkgo biloba and all this stuff there, they try to say, okay, I'm just going to be in uh, the market with these ingredients because that one ingredient and what the promises of that ingredient can help sell the product. And they figure, well, that's enough if I can win in that territory. But what I think they're missing is, and what you get is that the founder, it's not so much the founder's story, like a story. It's the the founder made this product for a reason. This was
Yeah, the why
created,
behind.
yeah, this was created for a reason.
Yeah.
It's not a promise and it's not an ingredient. It's a reason, and that is hard, challenging to convey on a bottle. But I believe that that's the sequence of events that has to happen for that bottle to really have the impact that you want.
You so
Is
well said. Yeah, because
thank you.
given the market is getting so crowded, you have,
Yeah.
I mean, in the simple business world, right? You have to differentiate. How do you differentiate? You cannot differentiate just on ingredient because the ingredient can be easily add or removed,
Yeah.
right? And one ingredient is not going to deliver all the health benefits, just based on holistic medicine is never about one single ingredient. In pharmaceutical, it's different because that ingredient is highly purified and concentrated. But you are not doing that in food because if you're doing that in food, you're going to get yourself into big trouble with FDA for sure,
Yeah.
right? Even now, the FDA is actually going to speed up their regulation on the caffeine intake in energy drink because some people die. There are nasty lawsuits. I just saw the
Oh,
news
wow.
from FDA today. Yeah, they're going to really roll up their sleeves, start some regulation on that. I think it's well needed because
Yeah.
because the energy drink market again is discounted. More is better. It's not about the more is better. How much caffeine you want to add in that can. That's beyond just a marketing tool. I think there's some ethical standard we all need to adhere to, right? There's some science standard and ethical standard we need to adhere to. It's not, I have more protein than your bottle of protein, which is stupid. It's almost like kindergarten kids fight with each other. You
Yeah.
got to differentiate yourself beyond that level. I think that's what you said, right? Is help
Yeah.
people to understand this why that it cannot be some why that any AI machine can tell you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's for sure. And also, younger people are drinking energy drinks now. Younger people who don't drink caffeine necessarily, but these energy drinks have them in it.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, it's the ethical standard is a huge part of it, and that goes back to that founder conversation because if the only reason a company is following certain standards is because they have to because of regulations, that's okay. But I mean, that's not really the ideal. The ideal situation is that when somebody sees something on a shelf, that they have some awareness of why this was created. And again, it's a challenge, and I don't expect the whole industry to adopt it, but I think it's something that's already inherent in your story. And so uh, it would be great for that to come through. Why do you think it hasn't come through? And then finally, what what do you do next?
Yeah, great question again. I would say because selling in retail channel, because the shelf is getting so crowded, so busy, people's shoppers would only spend 2 or 3 seconds on each single product. And for them to understand a profound philosophy behind a brand is definitely, I feel like it's almost impossible unless you're doing tons of PR, right? That requires lots of resource. We all know that. If we're doing the amount of PR like Coke or Pepsi, of course people will understand it. But on the other side, online e-commerce is very different. I feel like brand with a deep, profound mission will do much better online because the reason is you have that little space that when visitors come to your site or watching your video, you have their attention. Hopefully, you can keep their attention, and then that's much better in terms of let them understand the why behind my brand. And we also see that once I have to tell you, the first few years, I was also very shy telling the why behind Karviva. And the reason is I wasn't sure. Maybe I was thinking too much. I wasn't sure if this Eastern healing philosophy or TCM would be accepted by Western
Mm,
shoppers. I had this fear. When I had this fear, I didn't want to talk too much about it, right? And I think it's after COVID, I basically came out of the shell and I say, who cares? If you don't like it, you hate it, you don't have to listen. I'm not talking to you. You always have a choice. I'm not forcing my message to you. But people who
right.
find it, they can benefit, I'll be happy to communicate. So once I start to do that, we actually our e-commerce just continue to grow. Yeah, year by
Yeah.
year. Yeah. And I feel like I have a lot more uh real estate. It's almost like your shelf space is so tiny. You only
Yeah.
have that bottle and then you have to follow the regulation, right? You can't say
Yeah.
too much on your label versus on the internet, you could tell the story. You can do the education. You can build your community. I think if a brand truly has a good mission standard, they want to grow, they want to stick with. I do encourage, start with the e-channel because many of the brands are obsessed with store counts. Sadly, in
Hmm.
this industry, it's
Yeah.
like, it's almost like compare your protein level in my bottle compared to the protein level in your bottle, which is silly, right? You can say I
Yeah.
have 20 grams, the other person, how about I come up with 25, the other person 25? Okay, I'll do
Right. Right.
35. So
Yeah.
what's the point, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it is it is you really have to think far beyond that. And then,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
you have to think it's a battle either way. It's better to it's almost better to compete with yourself ultimately in terms of, I just want to make the product better. I want to make the audience more clear. I want to make it. If I start worrying about what's in their bottle, they're not my, it's not there. It's what's in their bottle isn't my business, it's,
exactly. Out of
um,
your control too.
yes.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so your question is so dead on. I have to say it is through almost with the challenges, with the limit funding, with the limit resource, how do you build your community?
Yeah.
Is I'm still trying to figure that out. Is through every venue. I would say, doesn't matter TikTok, podcasts, your own website, Amazon. It is, you just have to continue that part, be open mind to try. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's a great place to both be at and to start because it's still all coming from that same honest and genuine place. So
Yeah. So
thank you so
important.
much, Angela, for being on the show, for sharing your story and Carviva's story and where you're at and where you're going. It's an exciting place to be.
Yeah. Thank you.
Alright.
If you liked the show,
Yes, and?
it worked for you,
Yes, then?
subscribe and leave a
Yes, friend.
5-star review.
Yes, friend.
Tell all your friends.
Yes, friend.
Get your branding here.
Yes, friend.
Get your branding here.
Yes, friend.
Did I make it